This is the Electric Bike Action Podcast, devoted to all things on two wheels, and sometimes three, with an electric motor. Electric Bike Action Magazine is a print and digital magazine that reviews bikes and shares the latest news about e-bikes. I'm Tony Donaldson, the editor of the magazine and the host of this podcast. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and, if you like, a review to help us reach more people. You can also check out our website, electricbikeaction.com, and check out our Facebook page and Instagram account. Wow, do we have a great interview here. Bosch is launching a new race motor with some incredible capabilities in a new mode. Alex talks with Claus Fleischer, the CEO of Bosch Ebike Systems. Claus is a passionate cyclist and engineer who's been with Bosch since before the beginning of their e-bike program. They talk about the history of Bosch's e-bike program, the specs on the new motor, and then get into the new feature that you won't want to be without. Alex is also putting up a video on our YouTube channel and a post on our website as he's ridden the new motor just days before the official announcement. There's a lot of great stuff in this interview, so let's get to it.
Right, this is a very cool interview. This is with Claus. What's your surname?
Fleischer.
Fleischer, Claus Fleischer.
Butcher or butcher?
Boyce.
Butcher.
Oh, butcher. Oh, well, yeah, the butcher, the meat maker.
The meat maker, yeah.
Okay, so I'm really lucky to be here with Claus Fleischer. So for me, I've been in the e-bike world from like the beginning as a sort of journalist, photographer, enthusiast, let's call it. And Bosch, I remember seeing one of your motors stuck to the bottom of a Specialized cross-country bike. That's the first time I saw a Bosch e-bike motor. I think it was in 2010 or 11, something like that.
Must have been a Cannondale.
Well, I don't remember. It was on
pretty sure Cannondale.
But it was anyway. And then I also tried the original high bike.
Yeah, X-Duro.
Yes,
Yeah.
I tried that. They had it, the 120mm version. And like today, I fell off it, but there we go.
It was the better version of a trekking bike
Yeah.
with the looks of an e-mountain bike, but it was actually the beginning of the e-mountain bike idea. 2010, 11-ish.
Now, I'm going to ask a question. You don't have to, because I want to say this. Like, essentially, Bosch is probably the biggest contributor in motors to the market, no, should we say?
Could be. Yeah.
Do you know how much percentage of the market you have? Do you know that?
Actually, no.
You have no idea?
No, because you can slice the market in
many different ways,
and,
so it's hard to tell.
I think we are quite okay.
But you have a super influential position.
We have.
This is what I'm getting at.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, so how do you, you're not, I want to say you're controlling it, but how do you decide what's going to happen in the world of e-bikes? Because you work for a big corporation.
Yeah.
You've got responsibility. You've got to sit and talk to the serious money men, and then at the same time you've got us little children on bicycles riding around trying to have fun. How do you put all that together in your job? Because it seems like a huge responsibility. You must have a lot of patience.
I wouldn't say patience, I would say passion.
Okay.
I think it boils down to passion from day one.
Yeah.
So when the idea came up in the Bosch Group in 2008 and 9, this was economic crisis, automotive crisis. And there was the idea, what could we do to contribute to the mega trends of this world, like urbanization, demographic change, and traffic.
Really, that's how the conversation was going at that
This
level?
was the idea.
Wow.
This was the initial idea, and we have technology like electrical motors, sensors, electronic controls. We have battery technology. Lithium-ion battery technology came up with cordless power tools.
Yeah.
And then we had two engineers, and they said, let's figure out if we can develop a system for electric bicycles. And the electric bike market was that small.
Yeah.
Why was it small? Because it was city touring, trekking bikes, a little kind of the boring style for the elderly 60 plus cyclists who want to still be, let's say, have some portion of mobility with a bike, but they were boring.
Yeah.
And then the idea was, if the market would develop, then what would it need? It would need more sportive, more stylish, more appealing bikes, but for that you would also need different systems.
Yeah.
And the systems back there in the 2008, 2010 time frame, they weren't just capable to provide, let's say, building blocks to the bike industry to build better bikes.
Because everything seemed attached or bolted on rather than
our
part
first
of the
system.
bike.
We came very fast to the market. 2010 to the Eurobike, 2011 the first product launch. High Bike was one of the first. Cannondale was one of the first, and they did now experiments how they could bolt differently the systems to the frame. And then we learned over time design integration, functional integration, make bikes more appealing from a designer's perspective, but also from the rideability. And early on we had the idea to make e-bikes more sportive. And then early on in 2013 we had the idea for really e-mountain bikes could change the way people have the perception, because back then when I came in touch with Bosch Ebike Systems, I wasn't part of the initial startup team.
No.
I came on board in 2012.
Okay.
So 10 years ago. To be
What were you doing before?
Many years automotive engineering for Bosch.
You're actually an engineer by design, by trade?
I'm an engineer by education and by heart. A system engineer. I did different system engineering many years for Italian customers, Alfa, Fiat, Lancia, Ferrari. Then 3 years in the US, in Detroit, Michigan, during the automotive crisis.
Oh, wow.
Funny times. Then 2 years in corporate. In Bosch Corporate, I was the assistant to the CEO of the Bosch Group. And I was basically supporting him with all his technical tasks and technical questions. And I got in touch with the startup team of Bosch Ebike Systems when they went to the Eurobike. Because in 2010 they had a huge press conference. No one knew Bosch in the bike industry. So everyone knew household appliances and electric.
Everyone was just joking, hey, you used a washing machine motor or something.
Yeah, kind of that. And my boss, the CEO back then, he asked me, what are they doing? And I said, I think I have to go there as a business trip. So my background is mountaineering and mountain biking and crossing the Alps, and I was a recreational racer. I did downhill, cross country, marathon, crossing the Alps, and I was always at the Eurobike with my dealer. One of my best friends in Germany has a bike shop. And he would take me to the dealer days. So Scott Adrian party, Stevens party, and Magura party. So I said to my boss, I think that's a business trip. I have to be at the Eurobike at the press conference, and I will write a report for you. And I did this in 2010 and 11. This is how I got involved with the team.
What did the report say? We drank a lot of beer?
No!
And I discovered that this company is using a strange motor from some strange country.
It was basically a report about their position in the benchmark world, competing with our system suppliers, and their way they approach the market, and that it's a good investment. And because I learned that my predecessor, the general manager, that he would not basically extend his assignment. He was at the limit of his retirement. So he could have extended 2 or 3 years, but he didn't want to. I said, I know someone. So I applied basically.
Oh, you actually applied for the job?
I applied for the job, because my background is system engineering, business, and also restructuring business, and then running business as a general manager and cycling. So I knew already a lot of names and contacts in the industry. And then the second portion, coming back to the passion, cycling and the bike industry is so much about that we love what we do. And I have not seen another industry, especially not the automotive industry, where you're so close, even as a product manager, as an engineer, as a general manager, so close to the experience, to the real experience.
I mean, even today I was riding along with one of your members of staff and saying to them, like, how is it that we're paid to play like children on toys? It's like, but at the same time, there's a really serious side of it, which is the whole urban transport world. I mean, we're playing on mountain bikes today, which we'll get to in a minute, on a new product. So, but it's like, you know.
For me, the both worlds of cycling belong together.
Yeah.
And for me, they are blending into each other, and they are, how you call this, if
they're feeding off each other. They're leveling up.
And they are leveling up. That's a good term. They are leveling up. Why? Like 10 years ago, my personal observation was more like there is the world of urban cycling, commuting, more rational.
Yeah.
And then the sportive side of lycra, road cycling, cross country. And
for those who didn't see, I just grimaced when he said the word lycra.
And then came, luckily, enduro with baggy pants. But these were separate
and no
worlds.
pad cap, remember, no pad cap. We have to have our shorts have to be below the knee.
Yeah, and these were two different worlds, also being approached differently by the bike industry. And with the electric bicycle, with the electric mountain bike especially, they are now blending into each other and leveling up each other. Why? What I observe, not only in Germany but all over Europe, if people love to commute with a bike, they use it also in their free time. Maybe not super sportive like what we did today.
No.
If people ride their bikes for sport, meanwhile they also commute with a bike or use it to go grocery shopping, run errands.
I'll give you an example. My mother, who's a 70-year-old nurse, she still works. When I asked her about what she liked about her e-bike, she goes, I like the seat post because I can put my foot down when I'm stopping at a junction. That was what she said. That was her approach. So a bike has to be good for that type of person as well, especially.
So the most successful e-bike category right now in our market observation is the crossover e-mountain bike, which has the look, design and the feel of a mountain bike because it has
chunky wheels,
it has the wider wheels, it has good brakes, it has suspension, it has the dropper seat post, and it comes with attachment points for fenders, for a rack and for a kickstand.
And lights.
Yeah. So this is the perfect crossover bike because you can commute, you can run your grocery, run your errands, and you can have your recreational ride and a little sportive ride. You can use it on vacation. That's the perfect example where these two worlds blend together and level up.
So today you said an interesting number in the German presentation. I could speak German, I was understanding it. And that was that 6 million, you said, e-bikes were sold in...
No, 5 million in Europe last year.
5 million in Europe.
And 2 million in Germany alone.
Okay.
And out of that, roughly 34% in Europe, which makes 1.6 million e-mountain bikes in Europe and 680,000 e-mountain bikes in Germany alone last year, 2021.
Okay, wow.
But now we have to distinguish between the more, let's say, recreational type of e-mountain bike, the sportive use, riding trails, and then the super sportive using e-mountain bikes for racing, what we did today.
Is that number accelerating? Is it flattening off? Or is it just growing steadily?
Growing steadily.
Growing steadily.
Still growing steadily.
Is it word of mouth that's passing between users? So let's say somebody buys an e-bike, they have a good experience, they tell their friend, and their friend buys one. Is that what happens?
Still. Yeah. Still.
That's how it's working.
Yeah. Not only, it has been a lot of word of mouth, it has been a lot of social media, it has all kind of media and just things that are happening.
Yeah.
Like
when they built bike lanes inside cities during COVID, things like that. Yeah. Does that make a difference?
Many times it starts on vacation.
Yeah.
People go on vacation and there are rental bikes.
Yeah.
And you see this now all over the Alps, all over the mountains. All the hotels provide rental bikes for two good reasons. People love to cycle, and with an e-mountain bike they can explore the area.
Yeah.
In that very moment, second reason, they don't use a car.
Yeah.
That's super. This is exactly what we as a society need, is less car traffic.
And if people want to understand who are listening, the context of the Alps, I mean, literally any village you go to, if you don't walk, you can walk a short distance, but because it's all steep in every direction, so you need a car or a vehicle to get from one point to another, because it's normally not that far, but it's steep, so it's worth driving or riding.
The typical reaction is, you could use a regular bike. Yes, you could.
Well, you could,
but the natural habit is to find reasons not to cycle, which is the reasons are it's too steep, it's too long, it's too stressful, I will sweat, I will never do this again, this experience was a disaster. So now with an e-bike, you take all these excuses out of the discussion and the fun remains. The fun is like, oh, I'm not in a car, I'm doing some activity where my body and my muscles and my whole blood system is doing something, but not in a level where I'm stressed out, but where it's convenient for me. And I explore the region in a totally, and the nature and the history and the culture and whatever, in a total different way. In areas where you cannot approach that area by car, because maybe it's not allowed, and not by walking because it's just too far.
So I have a question then. So where are we then in the growth of e-bikes? Are we at the beginning still? Are we halfway along? Are we where are we?
The typical "it depends" answer. It depends on
your feeling. If you're going from
it depends on the market and the specific countries. We look more into the S-curve development of the adoption rate. If you look into the overall bicycle market, what's the ratio of e-bikes being sold in the ratio to the total market? And the leading countries are the Netherlands, Germany, Austria, Switzerland. They have developed quite well, above 40, sometimes 50% share
of bicycles sold.
Okay. This is huge. And we believe the saturation point might be at 2/3 of the market. And then we have countries like France, Italy, the UK, Scandinavia, which are between 20 to 30%. And then we have even below that Spain, Portugal, Eastern Europe, which are just starting yet.
They're just starting.
So basically it depends. It has started in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Netherlands, and now it's spreading out, let's say, in concentric circles.
I mean, I know friends of mine who live in Germany who've bought two. One for riding for sport, one for riding for work. I mean, they're a bit excessive maybe, but...
because you live in the bicycle bubble. This is N+1. And then we have basically countries or regions like the US and Canada.
What's happening in the US and Canada from Bosch's point of view?
Catching up right now.
Rapidly or slowly?
Now rapidly. You know the S-curve development of every market, every segment, every technology. So the adoption rate in the beginning is slow. And now we're here. They are, especially the US, like I would say still they were 5 to 8 years behind to the core of Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Netherlands. Now they are catching up. They are maybe now 5 to 3 years behind. Which is just a different market development, also from their perception.
Their infrastructure as well.
You're British, you're from the UK. So what we had to learn the hard way is, if you use the term e-bike, which is a very generic, broad term for everything with 2 wheels and electric motor, then you have to distinguish between pedal control, which is a bicycle, and throttle control, which is a motorbike. So in the US, when we made our market entrance in 2014, it was like, you shouldn't be here, you should go away, leave Sea Otter, don't show up at any conference because this is wrong, this is cheating. And then, well, why is this cheating? Because the US back then only knew throttle control. And we said, no, this is pedal control. We want to basically educate the society and the media. The media was super critical. I won't name now the names. But it was horrible. If you read, especially in the forum, all the comments on social media, this was
pretty horrific.
Wow. Then I had one dealer, I think it was Sea Otter Classic 2015. So he came to our exhibition booth and we had demo bikes. And he came to me, he yelled, "You should leave, see Otto, you shouldn't be here, this is so wrong." And I said, "Did you even ride one?" "No, never." And I said, "Okay, then I don't talk to you." "How about you take a demo bike and then we talk?" Okay, so I handed out a demo bike. He came back 1 hour later and he came to me, "I hate me for liking it." So in this 1 hour he converted himself from a pure hater to hating himself because
He
liked it.
Oh my God.
And this was one of the biggest compliments ever. And now, what does this mean? The product, the technology was there, but the perception was totally against it. So it was.
But that's changing rapidly now. I saw sales
that's
numbers.
That's changing rapidly.
I saw sales numbers for the States that it was around 900,000 sold, something like eBikes last year or something, or a couple of years ago.
Very good. Yeah.
Which for a 300 million population or 350 million population,
It's still small.
it's still small. So there's a lot to go.
But the year-over-year rate is good.
Yeah.
So, and this is what I meant. It takes a while to have this understanding with media, with the dealers, and well, that's good. There's a good development in the market, and I think it has also very good social impact because it helps with a more active lifestyle. If we get more people on bikes, and if the e-bike helps to have more people on bikes, that's a good thing.
So we're actually, now let me touch on another subject here. We're actually here in Finale Liguria because Bosch have just demonstrated, so this will be going out after the embargo. So Bosch have just shown a very nice, new, interesting product. And it seems like, so apart from we've been talking about the beginning of the market, this product you've just launched is very much aimed at the pure e-bike. I don't know how to say it. It's the racer, we could call it. It's almost like you're opening another market now at the top of the pyramid.
I would say it is approaching a small market segment, which is small and will be not much larger.
But it get a lot of attention.
But it will, like any sport and like any pro sport, will get a lot of attention. And what I said earlier for the e-mountain bike, which came in 2013, 14, 15, with our upper flow idea, with our performance line CX, and if the cool mountain bikers ride an e-mountain bike, then anyone could ride an e-bike in an urban area, because now riding an e-bike is cool. Before that, it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
In 2010, 12, it was embarrassing. Oh, you ride an e-bike.
But this new product, the new motor, so we should say what it is. It's the new Performance CX Race Limited Edition.
Absolutely.
I got the whole name right. There we go. It's basically based on the chassis of the Performance CX Generation 4, but it's got a lighter internals and new power deliveries and new reactivity delivery and all kinds of things going on there. It's a lot of fun. But it still respects all of the norms of the power, the law across the world. And it's, I mean, tell me, why did you make this new race motor? Because it seems like, because isn't Bosch just a boring corporation that's just interested in like the man in the suit? What is this? What is this thing that you're making?
If this is your perception of us, then it's maybe only...
It's a joke question.
It's maybe only because of that. No, I would say first of all because we can. And because we get paid to have a lot of fun with things we like to do, and some of our colleagues, engineers, product manager, and myself, we love to ride mountain bikes.
So you made something for yourself.
We basically we developed our own toy, and now we want to share it with the community because it's a very expensive development. No, we saw that racing e-mountain bike is the natural progression of riding e-mountain bikes, because like in any other sport, if people love what they do, they want to get better. They train, they exercise, then they want to compete, maybe with friends, then later in a group. Then they are looking for a true competition. In mountain biking, we called it a race.
Yeah.
So then we thought of what kind of race would make sense. Then we got involved with the UCI.
Yeah.
Then we agreed with the UCI in an industry UCI gathering. What are the rules? What are the regulations?
So the UCI, for people not knowing, is the governing body of cycling globally, correct?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
UCI is important not only for road cycling but also for cross country, and since 2018 they committed to be the governance body for e-mountain biking as well.
Okay.
And
does that help with when it comes to bikes finding their place in society and within governments as well, I assume, like how governments and countries approach how they're regulated and things like that?
Yeah, because the idea was early on, especially in cycling has such a low entry level.
Yeah.
You should be able to buy a bike on a Friday.
Yeah.
And race on Saturday.
Okay.
But this is only possible if it's not too far off of the series production specification.
Yeah.
And the same idea is behind e-mountain biking.
Yeah.
You should buy a bike on Friday and race it on Saturday.
Yeah.
That was always the intention. So now we fused our, let's say, engineering skills, technology, competency to basically bring this product to the edge of its capabilities. So Performance Line CX, the first product was 2015, model year 15, then model year 20, we brought a smaller, lighter version. It is used all over Europe in different race formats, cross-country, enduro. And then we worked with a handful of professional riders, and we asked for their feedback. What would you change? First of all, reduce weight, because less weight is always better to handle the bike, and a little bit more riding dynamics.
Okay.
So take out some of the comfort functions which make e-mountain biking comfortable and easy to control.
Yeah, because you wouldn't say this is a super comfortable motor. Like, it's comfortable to use, but it's got a little bit of like.
I would say
it's got like a streak of lightning to it. It's like it gives you a.
You were part
kick.
part of our ride today,
Yeah.
and I think everyone agreed at the end of the day, you really want this.
Yeah.
Purposely decide, okay, this is the right product for me, and this is the right product for me today in a race setting, in a competition setting. It's not the right product for a recreational ride or for riding a tour, or even to be in the Alps in a technical challenging trail. And it's basically to tweak out every tenth of a second every time, every turn, every corner, every step.
And it is very reactive.
It makes you faster, and it makes you faster longer. So it's really pushing you very dynamically in the given, basically, envelope of the regulations. We just go into every corner of the regulation, but it's fully street legal. It's fully UCI legal.
It's an interesting product. I mean, I have to say, I really want one. I just say it like that. I want one on a bike to ride it and make it mine for a while and really get into it and feel it. But it's like, I can see you don't need it all the time either. Like you can, you don't have to have it in full power all the time. I mean, I'd say riding what I rode today, I could probably use it 20 to 30% of the time, and that would be enough. And the other times I could use the lower power modes. But essentially, when you do have it on, you do cover more ground. You do sort of boost over and boost through techie, sketchy sections much more smoothly, as long as you're on the right bike, though.
Which is super rewarding.
Yeah.
It's so much fun if you overcome obstacles where you think, impossible, there is not even a line. And then you have the extended boost. And then you know how to kick.
Can you describe what is this magical thing, extended
What
boost, for the people who are listening?
Okay, what we did in the Performance Line CX, we have developed first the EMTB mode, which is a dynamic progressive mode, which is not linear to your power input, but progressive.
So as you pedal, it responds according to the the bike
it has low support when you have low dynamic from your leg input. We call this a bioelectrical hybrid. So you are the bio
Okay.
engine, and we measure your input, and then we amplify this with the electrical motor. And with the EMTB mode, we were able to read your input in a dynamic way, so that you really, if you want to push it, because there is an obstacle, there is a step, there are some roots,
Yeah.
that you get more assist for a short time,
Yeah.
as long as you can hold the dynamics. And once that tapers off, we reduce also the support.
Yeah.
That was the foundation. And then we had the idea of the extended boost.
Yeah.
The extended boost is basically supporting you on demand a little bit longer after you have stopped pedaling.
Okay.
That means you see an obstacle where you know, I will have pedal clipping. I will touch with my pedal this rock or this root, and then the flow is over.
Yeah, I'm stopped.
So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
stopped.
it.
So you cannot rotate the cranks for 360 degree. And then we said,
For quite a good distance, you could imagine like the next
Yeah.
20 foot, I can't go over it or something.
but then we said, how about we do an extended boost where
Yeah.
you, like a kick down, where you kick the pedal, then you make yourself light, the bike keeps rolling, and then you continue pedaling.
Yeah.
After the fact of coming over the obstacle. So this extended boost in the EMTB mode is on demand, because you have to purposely apply for it.
Yeah.
And now we have taken this idea one step further. In the race mode of the Raceline
Yeah.
limited edition, we said there is always an extended boost. So
Oh, wow.
every time you stop pedaling, the motor runs a little longer in the time that is allowed in the federal regulation,
Yeah.
in the norm, and also applied by the UCI. It's a normal extended boost which
Yeah.
carries you on, and if you boost it with the pedal, it can be stronger and longer. And now this helps you a lot in technical terrain where you cannot rotate your cranks, just
Yeah.
to kick the pedal and continue kicking
Yeah.
and kicking it instead of rotating it. Because if you would rotate, you may hit
Yeah.
your crank and you have pedal clicking. So, and this we pushed to the limit,
Yeah.
which makes you super fast in sections where you typically would
You'd
slow,
stop. You'd
well, you
all
would
get hung up
at
on a
least
rock.
would
Yeah.
slow down,
Yeah.
and you would, it would, and Finale Ligure is the perfect
Perfect
terrain
testing,
to
yeah.
show this, because the way the trails are here and the rocks everywhere, and
Disjointed is the word in English. So you find a
Disjointed,
Yeah.
disjointed,
You
yeah.
find a section where it's nice and smooth, and suddenly you've got a rocky outcrop,
Yeah.
and then suddenly it goes into
Yeah.
a really rough bit, and then it goes smooth, then rough again,
Yeah.
and then there's a step up, and
Yeah.
then it's amazing, but it's also very
But now
hard
comes
to ride.
now comes the point. To distinguish between the EMTB mode and the race mode, these are two different characteristics. If
Yeah.
you want to ride smooth and clean and a super flow and have time to find your line, EMTB is your mode. If you want to be super fast and you are actively on your bike, always in the perfect centric position,
Yeah.
and you are confident, then the race mode is your mode. But the race mode is non-forgiving.
No.
If you are not in the center of the bike, then sometimes the bike is faster than you, then you have to catch up.
Yeah.
Then you catch up, then your rear wheel spins. So you really have to work with your core,
Yeah.
with your upper body, to control basically your perfect line, because it's disjointed.
Yeah.
The EMTB mode gives you more time, but this could mean you lose also time in a race.
Yeah.
The race mode allows you to be faster, but it also has the chance to make more failures
Yeah.
if you're not really on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my riding impression was it was fun, it was interesting. It needs specific bikes, as you guys said.
Yeah.
Because
Good one.
if you don't have a specific bike, it's definitely going to be a bit of a handful for a bike which has got too short a wheelbase, or too steep a head angle, or it's not built with the sort of a good fork or whatever it is. There's many different elements that go into there. But if you put them all together and they're not good enough, then you're going to struggle to control it.
Yeah.
Whereas I was riding the Trek Rail today, which is, in my opinion, one of my favorite enduro style bikes, and it's it gives a lot of flow, a lot of roll, consistency, and when you add that motor to that bike package, it's like, wow, it's impressive. You know, it's like it's a step up for that product, but not everyone's going to buy it. So,
and this is the reason why we call it a limited edition.
Yeah.
And we worked with all the bike manufacturers who want to apply the bike to the system to their bikes, that they purposely built a bike for that target group.
Yeah.
When it comes to wheelbase, geometry, suspension, fork, wheels, tires.
Yeah, you need good tires, because today it was kicking us forward into sharp, square-edged rocks.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I'm glad I'm on this bike, because that would make a puncture if I did that on a weaker bike, let's say. So.
Yeah. It provides surprises once in a while. Yeah.
But it is controllable. It's not out of control.
Yeah.
It's like, if you've got any knowledge of how to ride, you can control it.
Yeah. Our aim was to make it controllable in a way that you can repeat the experience on demand.
Okay.
It shall never surprise you. It shall always be in a way that you expect this behavior.
Yeah.
And you will learn the features,
Yeah.
but only if you're a skilled rider. You have to have some experience in mountain biking and in e-mountain biking, and in uphill flow riding technical trails uphill.
Yeah.
If you start from zero with the race system, you might be a little bit overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But this is in any super sports, like you don't want to, if you're an average motorcyclist and you jump on a MotoGP bike, you might be a little bit surprised. The same with race cars.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what we were achieved to, because we want to support the athletes we are working with, that they have a chance to win a podium.
Yeah.
Because it's the athlete, the pro rider, it's the bike, and it's the system. And if this comes together, then we want to get better together. So we took in a lot of feedback from the athletes the past 2 years. We involved them in workshops. Everyone has a little bit different opinion and also a little bit way to optimize, and we try to take all their input and make one product which we can bring to the market.
So the appetite then for e-bike racing, I don't know if you know, I was one of the spokespeople, or at least on camera, for the electric mountain bike cross country, and a few years ago, and it was very interesting watching that sport, because there was like not many riders coming along, and because it's cross country electric bike, so it was a bit sort of questionable, should we say? And even I was there looking at it, going, okay, well, you know, well, as long as we're trying and we're putting our passion in, fair enough, you know. But is there an appetite for electric bike racing to grow and become as important as non-electric bike racing? Or is it something which is still in the very early stages and we're just figuring it out? What's happening?
I would say very early stages, and there will be a coexistence. And it's always a question of the race format and how far we can bring it into basically to the how you call this in Germany? We call this hobby class, recreational racing.
Yeah, recreational racing.
Because we still have the situation with the tempering, with the tuning, the cutoff speed of 25 kilometers per hour, which is a concern.
Yeah.
And we have to ensure that all the manufacturers do their utmost what is possible to avoid or make tuning impossible. And therefore the UCI is very important, and any race organizer has to have a look on this.
Yeah.
And therefore that's a little bit more challenging, but the systems get better and better and better every day, and we work against the tuning industry with all the power we have as an association.
It's weird, isn't it? There is a whole industry of tuning against the whole industry.
Yeah, sure. But the risk for the whole e-bike community when it comes to tuning. So
trail access and things like that.
It's trail access, because then you have this image of motorcycles again.
And we're not motorbikes.
and overpowered, overspeed, blah blah blah. We don't.
I mean, at the end of the
wanna
day,
have this.
if I gave a bike that I can ride with the skills that I've got, and I gave that to a normal person in the street, my mother, or even a child of mine, or something like that, and they ride down a trail at 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, they could hurt themselves very severely.
Anyway, they could, yeah.
And so these limits are actually there for a real good reason, in my opinion.
But let's get back to mountain bike racing. I think what's important that because you mentioned cross country.
Yeah.
In cross country, typically, if you take the same cross country loop, it's not steep enough in the climb and not technically enough. So the race organizer have to learn to purposely build the loop in a way that for an e-mountain bike it now becomes challenging, like the WES does right now.
Yeah, they do that.
And if you ask the athletes here, they say, wow, this is super demanding, and you couldn't ride it with a regular bike.
No.
And then our aim is, from an image, is to make tuning irrelevant.
Yeah.
So even if you have a bike which is tuned and we couldn't detect it, it shouldn't help you, because climbing uphill is too steep and too technical. Going downhill, it's technical anyway, so you would just hurt yourself, and there is no flat section.
Okay.
And if we achieve this together with the organizers, then tuning is irrelevant.
Okay, interesting. That's a good approach. I like that approach.
Yeah. Make tuning irrelevant.
Yeah, make it irrelevant. So that's a good point. Yeah.
And then it's technically more challenging and demanding, which is also better for the spectators.
Yeah.
If you watch a race, what is fun? If
The
they
difficult bits.
go straight,
No.
high speed? No, it's the technical sections where there is also the chance or the risk that they may fail or take a different line. And why is a rock garden so interesting? And cross country right now, not normal cross country, became so super technical.
It's difficult.
If you look at these rock gardens, why? Because it's better for the spectator, better for the camera.
And you watch them do the jumps as well and the drops, and they're like, I mean, they're doing stuff which I think I would personally, if I wanted to do that, I want a downhill bike, you know?
Which was downhill 15 years ago.
Exactly. So it's interesting to watch. Anyway, Claus, you've really given us quite a nice introduction to the new motor. And when's the availability of that new motor going to be? Do you roughly have an idea when the companies are going to start having this new motor available?
We started our production already. The product is production ready. And we ship it to the bike manufacturers. And right now it's up to them when they want to basically finish their product launch and when they want to announce it. We have our embargo until Wednesday. The 28th of September, and then I think after that the bike manufacturers, the brands who participate,
will start.
Not everyone will have a bike with a race line, but I would say this winter, and then we see this in the next season, model year 23 season.
So the recommendation is, if you're really into racing and you see a company launch one, order one immediately, because they're limited.
It is limited,
Cool.
And it is a limited use case for a limited number of really dedicated e-mountain bikers who have already experience with riding on technical trails. It's not for everyone.
Well, thank you for having us, and thank you for this interview and this time. And we look forward to the future and the sport of electric mountain biking and electric bicycling growing, and it could change the world, couldn't it?
It could, and the perfect place, Finale Ligure, for such a gathering. Thanks for joining us today.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Electric Bike Action Podcast. For the latest reviews and information, visit electricbikeaction.com, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Stitcher or Google or wherever you get your podcasts, and give us a rating and review to help spread the word about e-bikes. You can also email me at tonyd@hightorque.com, that's TONYD @hi-torque.com. I'm happy to answer questions and would love to hear your experiences and adventures on e-bikes. This podcast is powered by Callcast.